Hello everyone, I'm Andrea from Andrea Flipping Unique. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, thanks for joining. I have been really busy this summer working on a lot of client pieces, and I wanted to share one with you that I did a couple of months ago, and that is this Art Deco Cavalier cedar chest. I don't have an exact age on this piece, but I would estimate it to be around 1930s, so considering how old it is, it's in pretty good condition. The main problems on it were definitely the old finish, and there were a few spots that were missing some of the veneer. The two requests my clients did have for me, though, were to not paint it and to upgrade the base. So continue watching to see how I bring some life back into this old cedar chest. I started off by cleaning the outside only with my simple green. Although this product does work on a lot of surfaces, it is not intended to be used on untreated cedar. So to clean the inside, I just vacuumed the loose dirt and debris, and then I took a wet cloth and wiped it down. If you have a chest that's really dirty on the inside, you can use a 1-to-1 mixture of water and vinegar to clean it out. You can also use water and a mild dish detergent. Just don't use anything extremely harsh because this can ruin the cedar. If you've been here for a while, then you know that the first thing I did was grab my carbide scraper to remove this finish. I was fortunate enough that it basically just turned into powder as soon as I started scraping it, so this whole process went really quickly. When you're using a carbide scraper, you want to make sure that you're scraping with the grain. So I was very careful around the waterfall part to make sure to go on a diagonal and to go very slow. If you're not comfortable using a carbide scraper, or you've never used one before and you're nervous around curved areas like this, then I would suggest using a chemical stripper or even hand sanding. Art Deco pieces are notorious for having veneer that goes in every which direction. So if you do come across a piece that's completely painted and you think it might be Art Deco, I would suggest either using a heat gun to remove it or chemical stripper. A perfect example is this inlay strip right here where the veneer is laid out in a braided pattern. I didn't want to risk tearing it up with my scraper, so instead I did use my orbital sander because the finish was already so thin and brittle that I felt comfortable enough that it wasn't going to leave any swirl marks. I used 120 grit sandpaper to get the remainder of the finish off, and I did have my sander set at a medium setting. I've also had a bunch of questions about what sander I use, and it's this one right here, and I get it from Harbor Freight. I do have my sander attached to their dust extractor system that you can purchase separately, so if you're looking for a more inexpensive option to the Surf Prep or the Festool, look into that. To sand the waterfall part without ruining it, I did attach a foam pad onto my orbital sander. After I finished sanding everything with 120 grit, I did move up to 150 and then ended with 180. For all of the wood trim, I did go in and sand all of that by hand. A little side note, I do prefer hand sanding with the net discs over regular sandpaper because they're so much more pliable. After most of the sanding was done, I did go in and fill in any missing veneer and holes with some wood putty. After it was fully cured, I went back in and sanded everything flush. The other thing that I had to do was try to get the finish out of all of this detail right here, and luckily I was able to do that with acetone. I used a mixture of some steel wool and a brush to get all of the finish out, and I just soaked up a little bit into the steel wool and rubbed it in there and then took my brush to get the rest of it out. Keep in mind that acetone does not work on all finishes, and if you're going to use it, please make sure you're wearing proper gloves and you're wearing a respirator. So a little story time for you. When my clients dropped off the chest to me, they had seen that I still had this dresser for sale, and they decided to purchase it and use it as their TV stand in their living room. And since this chest was also going to be in the living room and they wanted to remove the base and have a new one, we decided to make one to match the dresser. So if you want to see exactly how I build these bases, I'll have the video linked at the end. When I got the base built and stained and attached onto the bottom, it was time to stain the rest of the piece. We decided to use the same stain that I had used on that dresser, and that was Rich Caramel from the We Refinished line. I wanted to make sure that the grain was still really visible, so I ended up cutting the stain with some of the clear base to thin it out a little bit. I let the stain dry overnight and then I added a top coat before I started doing any color matching. I'm using Behr's water-based polyurethane and this is in satin. After the first coat of top coat had dried, I then went in with my furniture repair paste and started color matching all of my veneer repairs. This is the kit I use for all of my color matching, so if you're interested in it, I will have it linked down below. One thing to note about these is that they do tend to dry very fast, so I work in small amounts and I do add a little bit of water when I notice that they're starting to dry out so that I can prolong their use a little bit more. I know a lot of refinishers like to use the Mohawk blend-all sticks, but something that I want to point out that I actually just learned myself is those blend-all sticks are only compatible when used with lacquer-based products. So if you're like me and tend to use only water-based products, then I definitely would suggest the repair paste. After all of my color matching was done, I did go back and add 3 more coats of my top coat, and then when that was dry, I went in with some cedar oil and rehydrated the inside. If the cedar scent has faded in your chest, you can go in with 220 grit sandpaper and lightly sand it to get that aroma back, but this thing was super dry, so I decided to use the oil instead. Now, before I show you what it looks like now, I wanted to remind you of what it looked like before and how bad this finish was failing. And if you want to see more furniture flips, restorations, and the occasional DIY, then don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And this is what it looks like now. I absolutely love how this piece turned out, and it's actually one of my new favorite pieces that I have ever done. I love all of the different veneer on it. I think the wood grain looks absolutely stunning now. And I know a lot of you probably had a heart attack that we took the base off, but I think the base looks so much better than the bulky one that was on it before. Most importantly though, my clients absolutely love it and they can enjoy it for many, many more decades. One thing I do want to mention is if you are refinishing these to sell, Please make sure you remove the lock before you do so because it is illegal to sell them with that lock still intact. So like always, thank you for spending some time with me. Be respectful in my comments, and I'll talk to y'all soon.